Hello, good morning, Jerry, Masahiro-san. Thanks for joining. So let us start. Um, so we had our previous meeting in January. So what happened during that is that I have discussed with Shane, and we have decided to present a document to the OpenChain board in order it to be officially approved. We had approved this document last year inside the work group, but now we wanted to make it an official OpenChain document. So what we discussed in the January meeting is that we would change the name of the document a bit. First, it was called specification, OpenChain Telco specification. And with Shane, after the discussion in January, we decided to rename it as OpenChain Telco Guide in order not to confuse it with the OpenChain specification. Hello, Jimmy. So I was telling that we have renamed the document from specification to guide, and that it will be presented to the OpenChain board in at the end of this month. So what I have added here is a summary of what we have done and what we will do. This was requested by Shine in order to have some history of our work to help us, the OpenChain board, to approve the document. So I have here put the goals of what we wanted to do, how the work was organized, some of the companies that participated, and the outline of the guide with a list of requirement and verification and reference material and a rationale for each requirement. As I said, we renamed it from OpenChain specification to OpenChain Telco ASBOM guide. And so it will be presented to the OpenChain steering committee on 26th of March. So we have a Japanese translation of the guide, and it was recently the translation was recently updated by Masahiro-san. Thank you very much. In order to change a bit the wording. So, any comments on this?
Maybe not a comment, but let's assume that in this March 26 meeting, this becomes official open chain guide document. What does it really mean, and then what happens after?
Yes, that's what I wanted to discuss after that. Um, uh, what we need to do next is to advertise a bit about this document, this guide. So we have already a plan to submit this document to ORAN, the Open RAN Alliance, in so that they could reference it in their recommendations. They have already some in their documents some references to what an SBOM should be. So we plan to propose to run to reference this specification. From the internal discussion we had at Nokia, our Nokia ORAN representative told us that this cannot be done until it is an official OpenChain document. So that is, I think it's an important step that it will be listed in the OpenChain official documents. And yes, that's one way to advertise the existence of this document. What I would like to discuss now is, yes, what else could we do to inform people of the existence of this document and to put it in use? If you have ideas, they are welcome.
Didn't we have some discussion about this Etsy path as well?
Yes.
Because that's kind of big in Europe anyway.
So there is, I don't think we necessarily need to change anything that we've been doing so far, or sort of change the immediate plans. But there's also the recent standardization request, formal standardization request sent from the EU Commission to Sensenelec for EU harmonized standards on the implementation of the CRA. We could advertise this document in the Sensenelec discussions as to this would be a good reference for how to provide an SBOM and what the element of a quality SBOM should be, just as a sort of further thought to what could be done. Because it's very clear from both talking to people in Sensenelec and the industry that Sensenelec will not have the resources or the muscles to create the 40 plus different harmonized industry standards that will be required for the CRA implementation. Thus, they will very much look for sort of what is the industry already doing, what the industry is doing can we take and adopt as is, and what can we recommend sort of be added to them to be CRA conformant. So that could be another way to advertise this.
And thinking that EU still is like 550 million people or whatever it is, so it has some global effect as well, the CRA.
Yeah, and it's I will say sort of looking at it from, since we are thinking about ORAN and that we would like to improve the existing ORAN specification by adding this, it's not unlikely then that that sort of Sensenelec could either be steered to look at or on their own initiative look at what exists in ORAN. Because of course it would be really beneficial if the ORAN requirements on SBOMs were already conformant with the requirements from an industry CRA standard. That would be a EU harmonized standard. That would be beneficial for all, probably, if we didn't have conflicting requirements or non-aligned requirements in both CRA and ORAN, since we will sell ORAN conformant products on the European market.
Yep.
It sort of simplifies if all those requirements are aligned. But having said that, having ORAN reference this document once it's approved is of course sort of a first prerequisite to even make that happen. I think that most likely the Sensenelec committee would look at the OpenChain official guide and say, well, that's nice, but it has no standing. It's not a recognized SDO. It's sort of it's not even a recognized specification. It's just a guide. So having it in ORAN might be a good path forward.
And with the ORAN, is the idea that basically this new guide would replace what's in place today? Because they do have some, recommendations, at least for the SBOM. Or would this be that, okay, this is the ORAN, and by the way, there's this another, and then kind of reference to our document? Or how do you see the, let's say, ORAN reference to work in the end?
So I started this morning, I should have done this ages ago, but I actually started doing the sort of mapping of the requirements in ORAN to the requirements we would have in the telco specification. And Mark, if that's okay, I'm gonna share my screen quickly just to show some of that. Let's see, share enlarge for you guys so that you're able to see it more properly. So what I've done here is just for the data fields. I still need to fill in the rest of this document because there are other requirements that we have in the guide that is not in ORAN. But when I have indicated green or orange, that means that that's a requirement that exists in the ORAN specification and it exists in our guide. If I have indicated it with yellow, that means it's not specified, but it's really SPDX specific. So it doesn't translate because the ORAN requirement says that you can do this either in SPDX or in Cyclone DX. And I don't necessarily think that we need to. It would be good if we could get alignment on saying that it's just going to be SPDX. We're going to drop the Cyclone DX requirement, but that's probably pretty unlikely that sort of once it's in, that might create a backwards compatibility problem. So it's unlikely that we get it dropped, but sort of if no one is using that's sort of the next best thing. And I don't think anyone is really using Cyclone DX in that part of the industry. So anyhow, the yellow ones they're really SPDX specific, because if you're doing for example a Cyclone DX SBOM, of course you're not going to have the SPDX version. That's only applicable in the case of SPDX. But then there are sort of other fields that are either mandatory or not mandatory, that are not reflected in the ORAN specification today, and those are quite many. And I have sort of in my comment tried to indicate if they are mandatory or not mandatory in SPDX, and if they are mandatory, are they still desirable to have in the ORAN specification, to have that information in an ORAN SBOM. So far, this is sort of, there's quite a large gap here, I would say, of things that are not specified. And I've only gone over sort of the first part of the specification. So I think there's a lot of possibility to improve and further specify what ORAN is saying should be in the SBOM, because that's very, very bare bones, I would say.
Yep.
So at least,
I just remember like when I was looking at the ORAN, I was like, okay, well, they are not asking that much.
no, and I think that we should probably all be asking for more than that.
Yeah.
Because that's really sort of, I would see that as the lowest possible bar to meet. I would say that perhaps this is then the way to say, well, if you were to implement these requirements in an SPDX, here's the guide for how we see that SPDX should be. And we also considered, if you choose that path, here are sort of the minimum elements if you go for sort of the quality version of this. So I don't know what in the end could be accomplished or done in ORAN if it's updated to now we're gonna mandatory require all of this information, or we're gonna say if you go the SPDX path option 2 instead of option 1, which would be what's there today, then this is what would be required and specified. But I'm gonna continue this exercise and share this file with this group so that everyone has it and we can see what is currently missing from the ORAN requirements and what we would be adding to that.
Okay, yes, it would be good to discuss that in more detail, to have perhaps a specific meeting before we go to ORAN. But as I said, the first step is to have our document, our guide approved by OpenChain.
I absolutely agree to that.
Okay, another thing which I discussed with Shane some time ago, there is a monthly OpenChain seminar, online seminar on various topics, and we could do a presentation of the guide when it is approved in this monthly seminar.
I think that's an excellent idea, Mark. I also, for the Linux Foundation One Summit at the end of April, I have submitted a talk for SBOM requirements in the telco industry. So this is I would like to talk about this guide then, and sort of do that talk as a comparison of what is required today in ORAN and what do we have in this guide and what else is there sort of in the industry, and have that as sort of a marketing opportunity for this specification as well.
Okay, when is that?
One Summit is, I think it's April 29th to May 1st in San Jose. Or if it's in Santa Clara, I don't remember, but it's in California somewhere. For us Europeans that most of us are off on May 1st, it's an unfortunate date, but I guess that they didn't take that into account when they set that schedule. And I didn't think about it when I submitted my talk. So now I have to go. Well, I was supposed to be off, so I can find the link and post here as well.
And I guess Jimmy, like a lot of people, they will, have the NTIA minimum requirements in their heads as well. So most likely you will be talking about those as well.
Oh yes. But I mean, I think sort of those have been a design element in sort of the work that's been done in this field. So those are sort of the basis of everything that's been done so far. Here is the event.
Oh, chat.
Thank you.
And the networking part there, I guess it's not human networking.
No, this is the Linux Foundation networking event. So for LFN. So the telco related event or the telco specific event of here.
Some big names there in sponsors list and speakers list.
Okay, and Masahiro-san, what is the situation in Japan?
So the in Japan, we have the national project to investigate the S-bomb in the telecom company with the telecom company. So the first year is finalized in this month. At that report shows the, how can I say, the SCA, the comparison between with the SCA2 between the black duck, for example, black duck and Shift is, I don't know the actual name, but it's Shift.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So we compare the accuracy of the S-bomb, and we report to the Japanese government. Yeah, that is the situation of today.
And Masahiro-san, like just a question, if somebody is going to do like SCA tool comparison there in Japan, or like what, I don't know, the Black Ducks and Reveneras and Fossa and whatever Microsoft S-bomb tool, whatever there is, like, or what's the plan there? Like really to do the accuracy of the S-bomb they provide, or because that would be interesting study for, I think, for everybody.
Yeah.
Who's selecting the SCA providers, for example.
So in actually we select some SCA2 by the, how can I say that, we can get easily, and we can get free.
Yep.
So I mean the OSS SCA2. So we compare that several too.
Yeah.
And the report will be available publicly?
Not yet. Maybe not public.
Yeah, because it would be interesting to see the findings, because what I did earlier was like little S-bomb comparison as well between I think 4 tools, and there are quite a lot of differences there, and none is, in my opinion, doing that great work. But yeah, I think they have quite a lot of room for improvement. But I hope that, for example, this sort of telco SBOM guide would kind of push the SCA providers to do better job filling up the fields and getting, for example, the license info correct, because there were some errors there as well.
Yeah.
But if possible, I think it would be interesting study to see in public as well. But of course, like if it's not public, it is not public, and nothing we can do about that.
And will there be SBOM standards in Japan, or?
So the purpose of that project is how the Japanese government deployed the SBOM rule to the telecommunication operator. So as a first step that we evaluate the SCA2. The SCA2 is can be satisfied our requirement or not. So the result is not so good. Not how can I say that too cannot satisfy the 100% the SBOM. So yeah. Sorry, that information not so the public. I think that so I can't explain the correctly.
Okay, no problem.
But Masahiro-san, you mentioned the Japanese government requirements. Like, is there some specification on that, or is it just like some nice to have, or what sort of you're comparing the SCA tool SBOM against? Because it would be interesting to understand, like, if there's such a SBOM requirement like NTIA minimum elements type from Japan as well.
So I think that there is no some ideas to adding the spec to the some NTI or some our SBOM guide, a telecom SBOM guide. So if we have something new items or something new idea, I propose that items to this working, if possible. But in today's situation, that we don't have some new items. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anything else to discuss?
Not from my side, at least. Looking forward to see the OpenChain board.
Yes, I will be. I have been invited there if I need to answer questions. So if nothing else, we can close the meeting. I will send my notes, and there will be a second session this afternoon for the US participants. So thank you all.
Merci beaucoup, monsieur.
And talk to you in the next meeting next month. Goodbye.
Approved guide, we hope.
Yes.
Yeah.
Approved and good.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Ciao, ciao.
Thank you.